Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. We are here today to talk about Wizards of the Coast's newest announcement about secret lairs and the fallout from it. My lord, this company and the decisions that they make. It is absolutely absurd that they could take a product that everybody was hyped about and get to the point where almost all the voices now are voices of discontent. Think about how long Secret Lair has been out for. Secret Lair has only been a concept for a couple of months, and already people are turning on Wizards for it. So, just so you know the scenario we're talking about specifically here, Wizards put out a tweet today that said the stars are aligning. They sure are. The next Magic Secret Lair drop is coming. Full reveal and sale 1 week from today at MTGWorlds. And they're gonna release the info over on Twitch, which is a place, by the way, I stream on, and I might actually be there right now, depending on how things go. So come on by, you know what, there's an opportunity to mention what I'm doing. Come on by and have a chuckle, hang out with me over there. We're having good times. But regardless, let us return to what we're focusing on here. For those of you who aren't aware of what secret lairs are, do I have a secret lair box kicking around somewhere here? No, okay. I've gotten some secret lairs. Honestly, it's a cool concept for a product at first glance. The idea is that Wizards is going to sell you a handful of specifically chosen, let's use some nice technical lingo that they use when they're selling things. Lovingly curated for our biggest fans, that kind of thing, right? Where you'll have a box based on little kittens and, oh, they're so cute, I just want to cuddle them, little cute or silly goblins. Or in the case of things like the Serum Vision one, they take a bunch of different artists and just allow them to create sort of almost abstract versions of the concept behind the card. And overall, it's a very cool concept where it's like, okay, you're getting special edition cards. Now they're very, very limited in the window that they allow you to buy them in. You can only buy these for 1 day. Now, technically with the first set of secret lairs, what they did was they announced 7 of them. They allowed you to buy them bundled together for 1 day. You could buy 7 of these boxes, like boom, there you go. Or each day of the week after that, they did 1 of the individual boxes. So Monday would be cats, Tuesday would be goat boys, Thursday would be cat lady box, whatever it is, whatever box it is, they would just do 1 each day, and they did that for like a week, right? Now, that was the first wave. The second wave of Secret Lair was the Year of the Rat Secret Lair, where they just kind of popped up and said, yo, it's the lair of the Year of the Rat. So next week, we're going to have a Lair of the Rat box set coming out. So we had a smaller window between the announcement and the release of this box set compared to the first ones that we dealt with. And then come along to this one where they don't tell us what any of the secret lairs are going to be. All they say is they're going to tell us what they are next week and they're going on sale. Basically, the wording of it is full reveal and sale 1 week from today. So that sounds like they're going to show everything they're doing and put them all on sale right away. Now, I don't know if we're living in a crazy new world where it's like, are they offering to bundle? As far as I understand, now I don't know if this is 100% like verified, but I think they're doing something like 5 more secret lairs. I don't 100% know. I don't know if it's just 1 secret lair that they're doing, but either way, what they're doing is a combination of things to try and maximize profit potential. Now, on the surface of it, there's nothing wrong with that, right? But the sheer amount that they've been doing this throughout the recent times in Magic's history is really, really starting to wear on people. The responses on the Twitter there are almost all negative. That's not normally how it goes. Normally how it goes is you will find a mix of people who are like, this product's not for me. Oh my God, you're making too many products. And then other people who are like, you know what? I really like the look of this. This is exciting. Thanks, Wizards. Or could you make a secret lair like this? And the groups would tend to get into arguments that were actually, you know what? I wouldn't even call them arguments. They're fairly civil. Maybe asking some probing questions of each other to try and figure out, like, why are you interested in this? Or why are you not interested in this? But either way, it felt somewhat evenly divided. And I mean, we have to also take into account that the internet tends to be a negative place. So there are a lot of like the negativity flows through more than the positivity. But when it came to Secret Lairs, it seemed like people were mostly positive about it. The responses here are like, yo, stop with the wallet fatigue. Stop trying to manipulate me with fear. Because that's what Wizards is trying to do here. They're trying to make you feel like you're going to miss out, right? That's part of what's going on here. They give you a very tight window. There's no reason that something that's like shipped to order only has to be available for 1 day, right? They don't have to do it that way. They're doing that way intentionally because it's the greediest vector that they can come up with, essentially, where they get to sell you all these cards, but at the same time, not try and screw with the secondary market values of cards too much by making these readily available. Now, Wizards has been trying to do this sort of singles thing for a long time now. I miss the old days because before the singles direct products, we used to have the days of From the Vault, right? And From the Vault was actually an amazing product. Like looking back at how Wizards was, I wish we could go back in time because yes, if we go back a number of years, they're not as great as they were at the beginning when the game started and they really actually cared and weren't essentially in servitude to Hasbro. But whatever, there's no point in really worrying about that. So I'm comparing them now to how they used to act when they were still under Hasbro, right? Like, because Hasbro owns them. And Hasbro owning Wizards of the Coast means that Wizards of the Coast has to kick a certain amount of money up the chain. It's like being in the mob, right? And Hasbro is the mob boss that's like, yo, you better keep the money flowing or heads are gonna roll. Either cash flows or blood does, son. That's how it works. I mean, they will start axing people off. People will lose their jobs if Wizards of the Coast doesn't make enough money for Hasbro, especially in the current climate where Hasbro has been taking a beating on its other properties, so it has to lean more heavily on its successful ones. So, From the Vault was an amazing concept that Wizards came up with, where basically they would take old school cards, like based on a theme, and reprint them, give them stylish new art. They even had a special foiling process, which was almost like double foiling, which made the cards gorgeous. They had this beautiful shine to them. And at that time, Wizards was actually printing stuff that they were like, oh, you know, we can get away with like foil reprints of special stuff from the reserve list. It was a weird time where Wizards was still willing to dance around the reserve list just a little bit. They closed that door, and I understand the fear of a lawsuit causing them to close that door. But either way, how From the Vault worked was it would have, in most cases, 15 cards, although they did do one special edition for the 20th anniversary that had 20 different cards in it, which was actually a really good one. But the idea behind From the Vault was really cool because it was a reward for LGS stores. So Wizards actually sold it to LGSs very cheaply. The suggested manufacturer's like retail price or whatever, like, you know, when a company says this is what we say you should sell this product at, well, From the Vault was pegged at $35. And the reason for that is because Wizards sells stuff to distributors, and then distributors sell stuff to the local game stores based on a percentage of the cost of the item. So to keep the cost of the item down for stores, From the Vaults were only $35 MSRP, and then stores could set whatever price they wanted to or use them as rewards for events. Like, Wizards didn't care how stores used it because this was an object to reward stores. So they were using their ability to print singles as basically a force for good, where they were rewarding their LGSs. Players were able to get these box sets based on like a number of different factors. Usually it was they were sold to people who were loyal to the store. The stores were rewarded with the From the Vaults, and the From the Vaults were mostly used to reward people who came to the store and were good supporters of the store, or on the other end, they could sell them for like a higher price and reap a nice little bit of profit. But that was really the most that Wizards would tinker around in the secondary market. But that all changed. Sorry, had a little coughing spell there. Had to go ahead and trim that out of the video because it was just, oh, my face was so red. I didn't want you guys to think that the Reaper had come to claim me in the middle of the video. So anyways, From the Vault was really their first foray, as far as I view it, into the selling of singles, but it was done for a good cause. Now, From the Vault just kind of petered out and got worse and worse to the point where they made From the Vault transform, where they even instead, like From the Vault, the concept is supposed to be these older cards that come in, and basically what they did was included cards that were in standard. It was a whole mess. So From the Vault got discontinued because of diminishing returns. But Wizards didn't give up that whole, we're trying to sell singles directly to the consumer, but they abandoned the concept of helping the store with these single sales. And that's when we started to see other products rear their head. There were a couple of exploratory singles products that they created, and then they used that to birth the secret layer concept. So really the other products that involved an attempt to sell singles directly to players, there was two prongs that they used. One was signature spellbooks, which is something that admittedly overall seems to have failed. You can tell when something hasn't succeeded with Wizards of the Coast because they will discontinue it, and almost always they won't mention that they're discontinuing it. The only time that I can remember in recent times they really talked about discontinuing anything was the master set fiasco, where they realized that the master sets were absolutely just awful and that they had gotten too greedy with those. And as soon as they moved away from master sets serving formats, and just trying to serve themes, they had a big problem on their hand in terms of a product that wouldn't sell. So the signature spellbook is it feels like a quietly discontinued product, or something they will bring out very, very rarely, because we've only seen one for Jace and we've only seen one for Gideon. There was a huge amount of time between the release of both of those, and the Gideon one was created when Gideon's life was ended in the War of the Spark novel. So basically you have a scenario where they were like, let's cash in on this in memoriam of Gideon kind of thing. The signature spellbooks are basically one copy of the Planeswalker that's specific to. So the Jace one had a Jace in it. The Gideon one has a Gideon in it. And then the rest are cards that thematically fit within that Planeswalker's like tool set. You know what I mean? So it's stuff like obviously the Jace's signature spellbook is all blue cards, and it's going to be cards that focus on being like a mind mage. The Gideon signature spellbook was a little bit different in that it had cards that were based on Gideon's life ending as well. So they had like the memorial statue to him and everything on the rest in peace. Like they weren't designed under the exact same theme really, but overall the idea was that they would sell you a bunch of singles. And what they would do is they'd have, it's either 8 or 9 different cards in the signature spellbook, and each signature spellbook would randomly foil one of those cards. So it was like, buy these 9 singles off us plus 1 random foil, and they came sealed in these tiny little boosters that were then encased in these large boxes to give the product more presence. Because if you looked at a flimsy little 10 card booster and went, wait, this is $35, $40, why would I buy this, right? So they couched it in a bunch of extra packaging. Does that sound familiar? What else are they recently making that has massive amounts of packaging versus what you get? Oh yeah, secret layers, right? Now, the signature spellbook wasn't the only way they tried to do this, like, we're going to sell you singles directly. The other way that they chose to do it, which turned out to be a horrendous debacle for them that actually degenerated into lawsuits, that was the Mythic Edition. Notice how they don't do Mythic Editions anymore? That is a consequence of what happened. There were 3 different Mythic Editions. Now, the concept of a Mythic Edition is you're going to buy a regular booster box, and we'll see some overlap here with the collector's ideas where they were trying to come up with different boxes they could sell you. But anyways, the Mythic Edition boxes were basically, okay, buy this booster box from us. It's going to have a reduced amount of booster packs in it. However, there will be 8 special printings of Planeswalkers in here that you get in every box. The boosters, in my opinion, were just there to try and make it look like they weren't really just trying to sell you singles directly. But most of the value of the box was predicated specifically on the Planeswalkers that were included. So in my eyes, this was Wizards selling you singles and just throwing the boosters in there to pull a little bit of extra money, but mostly just to make it seem like, no, we're not getting into the singles market. You know, we just sell the random packs. Wizards has to play this funny game where they pretend like the secondary market for Magic doesn't exist. they disavow it. So basically they go, we don't pay attention to it, we don't know anything about it, it doesn't influence us, and they have to do this, right? Because if they don't, they move into dicey legal territory where they know the values of what they're making. There's a number of laws that honestly I am not currently prepared to explain to you, but regardless, it's in Wizards' best interest legally to keep their hands tied and their mouths shut when it comes to talking about the secondary market. But do they pay attention to it? Yes, they very much do. We have gotten that information from them fairly directly, anything but being directly told by them. So we have the information that they very much pay attention to secondary market values. That's part of what the master sets and things were predicated on as well, where it's like, okay, we've got these master sets, we're going to put a ton of value in them based on like whatever secondary market, and then they started trimming down the value, but they 100% pay attention to the secondary market value, because the secondary market value of cards, it adds prestige to Magic. When you can turn around and point at all these cards that have huge price tags that people are willing to pay, that says a lot about your game. When people are willing to spend money on something, that shows society at large that thing is valued. Money is our most direct method of valuation. People can say they value things, but unless they're willing to put their money out for it, do they actually really value it that much? And the answer is, in most cases, probably not. In some cases, people just won't have the money, but that's a different story. We're talking about a scenario where you have the money and what you choose to spend the money on shows what you value. So having a secondary market is good for prestige, right? A high secondary market value. It's also good for your products. When you can create a new product and put like juicy reprints in it, like for example, Core 2020 had the Void, the Leyline of the Void, right? And that's a very, very juicy reprint. That was a very valuable card. And yes, its value has decreased somewhat, but it was a draw. Open the packs, we've got some new stuff in here, but we've also got these cards worth X. So it's in Wizards' best interest to keep the secondary market as high as possible. And so what they're trying to do with the Secret Lair series is essentially sell you these singles at or slightly below what the current market value of the cards are. And you can see it in the way that they price these too. You can see two Secret Lairs that will have essentially the same amount of cards. One will be 30 and one will be 40. Now, if they're paying the artists the same amount of money for the box sets, and it costs them the same amount of money to make the cards, and they're giving you roughly the same amount of cards, if all other vectors are equal, well, how do you justify charging more for one of these products? Well, it's because some of these cards are more desirable. Thus, they have a higher price tag on the secondary market. So Wizards is essentially trying to capitalize on the prices of the secondary market, get into selling singles, but at the same time, they don't want the singles that they're selling to have this decreasing effect where they end up losing the market value, because then if they want to use it as reprints in other products, they're not really going to be able to do that, right? It's not good. If the product starts to affect the market and values go down, that's when Wizards pulls back. We saw it with Invocations, right? They put all these masterpieces in a number of sets, but after a number of sets of these masterpieces coming out, we saw a depressionary effect where the price was pushed down across the board. It wasn't like the older masterpieces were able to maintain a very hefty price tag while newer masterpieces were cheaper. It pushed them all down. They were devalued as a concept because Wizards can't help itself. When they find something that makes money, they want to push it and push it and push it. We saw it with the master sets where they went from sets designed to serve modern, standard, things like, not standard, that doesn't make sense, modern, like eternal formats. They were designed to add to formats people played. And then Wizards said, you know what? There's only so much we can do with these because there's only so many cards that matter in these formats. Why don't we just make master sets that are based on themes? And then we can try and sell these guys triple priced packs because master sets were essentially triple the cost of regular boosters. And they paved the way for the new level of insanity that we are living in right now. That's part of what led us here. Now, what they learned from the Mythic Edition was that people like special edition printings. The Mythic Editions were good for that, but their desirability actually caused a massive, massive problem for Wizards. Man, I hate being sick. So, again, edited out a bunch of me coughing there so that we could continue on with the video. So Wizards had a big problem on its hand because of the desirability of the Mythic Editions. How does that work, do you wonder? Well, there was this debacle where essentially Wizards had the Mythic Edition. This was the third and final Mythic Edition. They all got scrapped. For all we know, there are other Mythic Editions that never got released because they opened Wizards up to legal issues where there's a class action lawsuit right now wending its way through the courts because of what Wizards has done. They made their customers so angry that the customers banded together to sue Wizards. And that actually is part, I believe, of what birthed the secret layers. So we have a scenario where what's going on is they've created the third Mythic Edition. Now in this one, they included Jace the Mind Sculptor, and a ton of people wanted the Jace the Mind Sculptor because he's worth a ton of money, and this is a special alternate art foil edition. So we're talking about a foil they're including in this box that if you want to buy a very similar foil in the secondary market, it's going to cost you hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And they're including it in a box set that they're only selling for like, it was something like 250 US, which it's crazy to me now that the level of greed they've gone to with things like the Deluxe Collector's Edition and stuff, the fact that $250 is no longer the high watermark and $450 is the new high watermark, it blows my mind to think about the short window within which we've seen this. Wizards' greed has gone completely out of control. But anyways, what happens with this Mythic Edition is they only print 12,000 boxes of these, okay? So they only have 12,000 available, and they're trying to figure it out based on the demand from previous Mythic Editions, but depending on the Planeswalkers that were included, that would pretty much determine how well the box set did. So the first Masterpiece Edition did pretty well. The second one didn't do that hot because they didn't include as many spicy Planeswalkers. That's what Wizards does. When they come up with a good idea, instead of sticking with the good idea, they find a way to make it worse. The gulf between the first master set and the second master set is so massive that you can see how the meddling and greed, they basically look at something and go, how can we do this forever? How can we milk as much money out of this? So 12,000 boxes of Mythic Edition get put up on eBay. But here's the problem. Some kind of issue happens, actually multiple issues happen on eBay, where the number of items that can be ordered wasn't limited properly. It also wasn't charging proper sales tax, and there were other purchasing issues that caused them to essentially wipe all the orders that people had placed and reopen the sale. But it didn't re-offer the boxes to people who were originally supposed to get them. And then on top of not re-offering it to people who were supposed to get them, they allowed roughly, now I don't know the exact number, but they allowed roughly 38,000 orders to be placed. So with only 12,000 items in inventory, with no intention of ever printing any more, they allowed triple the orders to occur. So this led to a bunch of people who were ravenously angry because the market value on these boxes, the secondary market value on these boxes, was massive. You could take the Planeswalkers that were included in these box set and sell them for way more than the purchase price of the box. So a number of people basically acted as if Wizards, because the way that eBay is set up, it's considered like a legally binding contract that Wizards didn't follow through on. All these people, and this is just my understanding of it, right? I'm not a lawyer, but basically what it did is it left Wizards open to damages of hundreds and hundreds of dollars per unsold box for all these people joining a class action lawsuit. So Wizards does not respond well when they get sued. Obviously, that's when they start to make big changes to their company. That's actually why we don't have the judge program anymore, because Wizards was dealing with lawsuits over it, and they decided, you know what, we'll just scrap the judge program rather than dealing with lawsuits. That's Wizards' approach. So the lawsuit issue is what led to the end of the Mythic Edition. We won't see those again. Those days are over. But Wizards didn't want to give up selling singles directly to the customer. So what do? They come up with the secret layer concept. How do they avoid any kind of lawsuits? They create a 24-hour window where you can order up to 10 copies of the item. Anybody can order up to 10 copies of the item, and after they're ordered, they will then be created and shipped out. Now, that 24-hour window is entirely arbitrary. It's created by Wizards, right? That window could be much longer, but they're doing that window intentionally to create the fear of missing out, as well as try and protect the secondary market of singles. So Wizards wants to keep singles expensive, especially in this day and age, because the more secret layers they can sell you, the more they can sell you directly from the secondary market. This is actually, the secret layer issue has been a sticking point for a number of people for a number of different reasons. There are complaints of wallet fatigue, which is very real. Wizards is, the thing about secret layers is, unlike every other product, we have cycles. Like Magic players go in cycles where it's basically like right now we're in a cycle downtime because the cycles are hilarious. Here's how it works. A new set is coming up and we're in spoiler season. So you've got the pre-spoiler season where people are rabid for any detail they can get about it, and we get some unofficial leaks depending on how things go. People will come and make up stories about getting packs from Walgreens or whatever. So we've got that time. Then we've got the 2 or 3 weeks before a set comes out, which is the pre-release hype season, where they show us, just start spoiling tons of cards, right? Then we've got the release on Arena and pre-release weekend, and that is the biggest, that's the start of the biggest frenzy, where all the little Magic piranhas are leaping up with their little mouths going, give me that blood, son, give me that blood. So people are like leaping up out of the water to get what they can from the set, and that'll carry over for the first week until the set's full release, where people can buy their bundles and their boosters, and then within about a week of the set's release, people are already dead and numb to the set because we already spent like a whole month or whatever going on about it. So you see this. People will come into my live streams or leave comments on my videos talking about how they're already sick of Theros and they desire to see Ikoria. So we have these cycles though during this period after Theros gets sold, right? Once Theros comes out, then we've got some downtime where aside from periods where they're like, we've got a Commander product coming out in the summer or whatever, we would have these long stretches where you didn't have to constantly have money on hand and you could just buy like, all right, I'll save up for the next set that's coming down the pike, or maybe I'll get a little more of this set, but overall, the majority of my Magic spending is done. Now with Secret Lair, what they've done is they found a way to constantly keep coming back. These Mythic Editions were released when a set came out. The signature spellbooks, they showed up very rarely. Secret Lair, we've already had 8 different secret layers, and secret layers have existed for a couple of months. And we're already going, it seems like they're trying to find a way to sell us singles every single month. And they're trying to manipulate you into being afraid of missing out on these special art editions or whatever, but they're pushing it too far. You can already see the pushback. Like I said on Twitter, it's insane. People are going nuts now, going, oh, can you stop? Can you just stop? Can you give me 1 second to breathe? Can you not try and take every dollar from me? So we've got a scenario coming up where I've heard there's 1 secret layer. I've also heard there's 5 secret layers. We don't have any information because they're going to dump all the info and the sale on us at the same time. The window that we're given to actually like decide whether you want this as a purchase, it's like they're trying to go, it's available for sale right now. If you don't say yes at this moment, I'm throwing it out the window. It's that kind of like, get it now or you don't get it. Get it now or you don't get it. And they're only selling you a couple of cards. They will sell you 1 card and a few tokens for $40. They'll sell you 3 cards for $30 or $40. It's insane. The cost to them is nothing. They're taking advantage of our goodwill and our enjoyment of the game to shove these products down our throat, and everybody's sick of it. And I can't blame any of them. So this is an interesting debacle in the making. I'll be curious to see how the secret layers grow. If they keep doing what they're doing, they are going to sputter out. It is 5. Oh God, it is 5. Something just flashed up on my screen and said 5 drops. Oh God, what are they going to try and do? A drop for every Theros god or something? Yep, 5 drops on sales during Worlds. Good Lord. Okay, I've had enough. I gotta go. I've yammered on about this enough. It's time for me to leave. Thanks for coming by. As I mentioned, I do hang out over on Twitch, so if you want to come over and hang out, you're more than welcome to do so. I might even be there right now, so come on by and say hello. We're having a good time. Thanks for coming by, everybody. Big shout out to my patrons and channel members for supporting the channel, and I shall see all of you people very soon.